So now we need to learn about pitches on the staff. So we're first going to learn something called the treble clef. You've been playing in the key of C major with your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and so we are going to stick with that, building on your knowledge. So I'm going to show you what that looks like if we were to, when you play that on your piano, what that looks like when you actually go to write it out, call it pitches on the staff. So it's just like when people say like, oh, I know how to read music. That's what this means. So building on rhythm. So if you open up the one I sent you with the treble clef notes, it's the second page. That document, there's 2 pages on that one. And I might have already given you this one. So this shows you the notes on the treble clef, okay? So there's a couple of things going on that we need to talk about. This just shows you some scales. Specifically, sheet music will show you 2 different things though. So like when we were talking about Frere Jacques, there's a couple of things that it shows you. It shows you specifically like what note on the piano. So like for instance, this is the note of C, and that would be like your first do. So it's called middle C. It's in the middle of the piano. And then it also tells you that it's a quarter note. So what they're saying is play this note of C, specifically the one that you start on when you go to sing your do, re, mi's in C major. So play that one specifically, and then they say to play it for 1 beat because it's a quarter note. So there's 2 pieces of information going on. It is what note and how long. So that's really what we are starting with the foundation of today is what is that note and how long do you play it for, okay? So if you look at your treble clef notes, what this is it shows you where on the staff, which is these five lines. So the staff is comprised of 5 lines. If we had it without any notes written in, which I sent you both a copy of that, I think it's called like 8 staves, and then I sent you a link also to blanksheetmusic.com, which is actually a really good resource, because what I'm going to ask you to do is write these out on the blank. That's why I sent it to you, because that's just another way of reproducing this this information when you actually sit and have to write it out. Okay, so here's the deal with pitches on the staff. Okay, notes are either going to fall on the line, so that's going to be like if we saw like a note right here, so that's like on the line, or they're going to fall in the space, so in between the lines. So they're either on a line or in a space. Okay, and that happens all the way up to the 5 lines. Now notes can go below the set 5 lines of the staff, and it can go above it, and that's what we're going to talk about next. Okay, so we're learning the treble clef. There's two clefs in piano, and we are going to stick to just learning the treble for right now, mostly because that's where, as a woman, that's where most of your notes are going to be lying. So I'm going to show you what C looks like. Okay, so the note of middle C, once again, that's where you start for your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. The middle C, that has 1 line, so it is actually it goes below these 5 lines, and it's 1 line, and that's called a ledger line. Okay, so when notes exist above or below these 5 lines, then you have to do something called drawn a ledger line. Okay, so that's a ledger line, and that has 1 ledger line, and it's 1 below the set in place 5, and that is the note of C. So if you look at the one that I sent you, see what that looks like? So it's 1 line. Okay, now they've just put up this whole thing up in quarter notes. It's just kind of generic, which is totally fine, because now we're really going to concentrate on learning where the notes are at. Like when we see this, what does this mean? So when we see the C, what that means is you play middle C. That's your do. Do. That's how you know it, as do, okay? So if we go to the next one up, so notice how that's sitting right beneath the 5 lines, okay? That is the note of D. So that's the next one, okay? the one right next to your C on the piano, D. The next one after that, well, now we're just going to go in the order of the alphabet, but it's kind of funky because it's the alphabet. It's a mini alphabet that starts not at A and ends at G and then starts back over. So we know C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's the notes in the key of C major. That's what we're working with, okay? So C, then D is right above that, so it sits right below that first line, like the set line, okay? E, so it's right on the line, E. F is the first space. G is the next line. A is the next space. B is the next line. And finally, and this is when you end your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do in C major, that's this C. So that's the C above. That's the C above middle C. Okay? So what I want you to do is practice writing this out. So you can do, if you want to do just like the sheet, and we'll do like a generic quarter note. When I say generic, I mean we're not getting too interested in like the rhythms yet, okay? So we'll just choose a rhythm. So that's your C, and then we've got D, so draw that in. That's right below the 5 lines. Then we have E, that's the first line next to it. E. F is going to be the first space. F. Do this at home. It's super helpful. G. The second line there, going from the bottom to the top. A. That's the next space. B. That's the next line up. Now, notice I am drawing, and this like matters and doesn't matter. The lines start going down. There's just rules for when they point up and point down. They're all quarter notes, doesn't change a thing, okay? If you drew it the other way, it'd be fine. There's just all these other extenuating like dictation rules that like you don't need to get too worried about. Okay, and that's your final C. So I'm going to write in C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. To further illustrate that, you should do the same thing. You should do this over and over again. Those flashcards that I showed you, that was also included. So if you want to do flashcards with pitches on the staff, which is what this is, then you can drill yourself with flashcards. That's just another way. So this is what, let me grab the camera. What we just wrote out here is what we go to our middle C. This is what do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do looks like. The one you have been playing, okay? That is what this. That's what this looks like. That's C major, because it's just the scale of C. So, what I want you to do then, after you get your music in front of you, okay? And then get your keyboard in front of you. Write this out a few times. You can fill up the whole page if you want. The more, the better. And then look at this, go C, and play it C, and say it. So we're looking, playing, and saying C. And the next one in line is D, this one, E, F, it's a first bass. What's next? Oh, you guessed it. G. It's the next line. That's this one. A. That's the next space. B. It's the next line. finally, back to C. It's the one you end on. So what we have done is we are learning how or what that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do that you've been playing and singing in C major, what that looks like on the treble clef, okay? So this is your treble clef. In piano, we usually play with our right hand, but the reason why we're learning that is because that tends to be the range of where you will be singing as a woman, okay? So play and say, that'll be the big thing, and then write this out. Fill up the page if you want to write it multiple times. It was super duper helpful. And then if you want to get the flashcards, these guys, they're pretty great. And I can even divide them up because there's a lot of them, and if you bring them in, I can show you which ones, I can race through them real quick and show you which ones pertain to what we're going over, okay? So have fun with this, and I'll see you soon.